Thanks again to Carbon Health for being our presenting sponsor. If you are a regular here, you know I've talked about Carbon Health and how long I've talked about Carbon Health and why I love Carbon Health. They help with things like COVID, cold, flu testing, antibiotic prescriptions for things like infections, UTIs, STDs. They have primary care services in California and Massachusetts. But if you're new here, thank you, by the way, for stopping by. You should also know that they can help with injuries as well. Most of their locations have imaging or x-ray machines so they can diagnose strains, sprains, and fractures if you unfortunately become injured. And I know, unfortunately, not everyone will be near one of the 120 plus locations, but they do have virtual urgent care services for states like California, New York, Florida, and several others. So thank you to Carbon Health. Really, really happy to be working with them. Check out the link in the description. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Nice to have you here on The Big Thing. There's a lot of stuff going on. RIP to the great Ray Stevenson. Going to talk about just some of the great moments that he was in, the things that we loved about him, and just trying to pay as much tribute as we can to him. Other news, you've got Echo. That show has been rumored to be a stinker for a bit, but now there's some other rumors about Kevin Feige, about what he saw in the first cut. Killers of the Flower Moon got a big standing ovation at Cannes. Is it going to be great? What about the Indiana Jones stuff, man? What do you think was going on with the Indiana Jones? That and more on today's show. We got a really fun one for you today, so make sure, if you haven't already done it, go on over and get those tickets. New York, man. We're going to be there June 23rd. Get tickets, thekristianharloff.com. Hope to see you there. People are always saying East Coast, East Coast, East Coast. Well, that's it. We're on the East Coast. Do it. Get yourself a shirt. Do it. Do all that. 100,000 subs. We're almost there. We need you guys to subscribe, though, in order to get there. So join us on the journey. What a show we have today. Not only is Roxy Striar here on a Tuesday, Robert Myer Burnett is in the house, everybody. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things. So let's get to it. You're sick of me, and I'm sick of myself. Let's do it. Yo, yo, yo. What up? It's me. It's Roxy. And Robert Myer Burnett is in the house. What's up, everybody? How you doing?
Kristian, our ears, our poor little ears, they're
you're
blown.
getting nailed? Are you getting nailed
blown.
over there? Roxy's getting nailed. Hold
No,
on.
it's more him that's getting nailed, but I'm just helping him out. He was trying to get your attention.
How are you better?
That's better.
Okay, sorry. Was you really blown out?
Yeah.
You were paying attention to none of us.
No, it was not.
This is what he was doing.
Yeah.
And this was you.
I was locked in, man. I was focused. And why wouldn't I be focused? What's up? How are you doing? What's the latest?
I'm honored to be here. It's great to see you again.
I haven't seen you in a long time.
Since the Schmodown days.
Yeah.
The
I
RIP.
feel I see you every day on Instagram, though. Your Instagram
I
game
try.
is on
She's
point.
got a good
Listen,
Instagram.
I post a
It's on
lot.
point.
People have qualms with that.
Well, how much you post?
Yeah, I guess I a lot of people will say to me, they're like, you post too much. I'm like, okay, mute me.
Right.
Unfollow
look
me.
good.
I don't know
Right,
what to
there
tell
you go.
you. I post a lot.
Yeah.
You know what it is. I didn't all of a sudden start posting a lot. I started posting a lot years ago.
Well,
They have FOMO.
and now you're here. Robert, what's going on and how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. You know, there's a lot of YouTubing going
Good.
on.
Robservations, baby.
Robservations, Let's Get Physical Media,
Yeah.
all the other things. I have a couple new people on my channel. See, my dream is to actually build a network.
Yeah.
Hence the Burnett work.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would love it to have 12 hours of original programming a day.
Wow.
And what's
I guess if there's one person that could do it, it's you.
12?
12
What
hours.
are the 12 hours of?
How would you do it?
So I've had people come to me, Israel, this kid out of Texas, he loves anime. He came to me, he said, I'd love to do an anime show. And I don't know much about anime, old school. You know,
But it
Robert
interests
said,
you.
Interests me.
Right.
So he said, here's what I want from you. I want an hour-long show once a week. I want it plug and play. Send me the show. Send me the description. Send me
your scripts.
Send me everything. Send me your scripts. So he did. And 14 weeks in a row, he's been consistent. I'd like to see the channel. It's not my audience. I'd like to see more people watch.
Yeah.
He does a great job.
It's great.
Fantastic job. He just turned 21.
So you just want to kind of dip your toes into the stuff that interests you, that you, like you said, you have an interest in, but you want to learn more about, and that's what you want to do in your channel.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of what I wanted to do is I call my audience imagination connoisseurs.
Okay.
Anyone who loves science fiction, fantasy,
Yeah.
horror genre, whether you're a tech head, whether you're and even if you wanted to do a show about breeding orchids.
If they like new Star Trek, are they out?
No.
Do you just kick them out if they
No, because as long as they can explain why.
Oh, okay.
See,
Fair.
and what I want is dialogue and discussion. Even if somebody is diametrically opposed to me, in some way.
Right. Just not yelling and screaming, just actual intelligent conversation.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I say the same thing at the end of every show. Every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear.
That's right.
And all you have to do is listen.
Good. Well, and that's for observations, and you can check it out. I remember that for a bit when we were talking, and the channel at one point, you were a little frustrated because you hadn't built as much. You were like, I got to post a little more than you started to do, and I saw like a 10,000 sub growth within like weeks.
Well, you know who told me to do a channel? I was John Schnepp.
Yeah.
He said when we were doing Heroes, he goes, "You should do a channel. You're always Mr. Positivity."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what would I talk about?" And it took me a while to figure out what I would talk about.
You've been playing around in the space for a bit, and people love you and love to hear your opinions on it. So good. So make sure you check out Rob's channel, by the way. It's Robservations on.
Oh, thanks
on
for that
YouTube.
commercial there.
You're welcome.
Kristian, that was great.
Oh, but it's also about what you're doing, right? And it's like
Yeah.
because we got a chance and we get to catch up on John Cho, and we did some, and we told some great. I told some great dad jokes. Did you know, by the way?
Oh, God.
I'm not gonna tell one right now.
Okay.
But
None?
No, not right now. But did you know? I heard this. Tell me if this is true.
Taylor's here, and I'm sure there's some great dead dad
I'm
jokes,
sure.
too.
I'm sure. Let me tell you something.
I'm missing the dynamic. I'm
So
okay.
when we would do John's show together before we went live on the air, I would tell him just horrible dad jokes before we went on the air. So the camera would get to him, and this would be his face. they were bad.
They were extraordinarily bad.
But I will say, did you know why the little boy threw the clock out the window?
You want
Wanted
to see time
fly.
fly?
So there you go.
I knew that
Perfect.
one.
There you go. Perfect. My daughter
That's
loves that
an
one.
ancient dad joke.
Crushes. My daughter loves it. Anyway, what I was going to say is, I got one more for you. Why not? Which animal can jump higher than a house?
I don't know.
All of them, because houses can't jump. He likes them. Sit in it. Perfect.
I wanted to know more about breeding orchids.
Oh, yes. Yeah, please.
I was hoping we'd circle back to that.
No, we're not going to do that in this show.
Susan Orlean's book,
That's
that
right.
adaptation was based on.
But we did. We would goof around. We had a good time, and he and I started talking. We're like, and it's the same reason that it was hard for me to get on the show a lot of times because of the drive. When I reached out, it was just like, it's people, because people right away were like, can you be on every week? And I was like, look, he as long as he wants to drive.
You're far?
It's
It's
far.
far.
He's far. It probably took him about an hour and a half to get here.
2 hours.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
That's what I mean.
It's all right one time.
It's right one time, not every week, right? So, but anyway, it's great to have you here, and we're gonna have some fun. So we're gonna talk, and TV today.
Here's the thing.
What?
I prep really hard for the
I know
TV
you do.
segment
I know you
because
do.
I'm me. So I don't want to. I have shows that
Okay.
I could talk about.
Great.
And and some of them are new, but a lot of them are things that I have been talking about. Then I put together a top 10 list of all the best shows of this month.
Oh wow! So maybe
So-
end that next week.
Yeah, I could
okay,
do
like
whatever
that.
you want when you want.
All right. Well, we can talk. I'll tell you one thing. We can start with right away.
Sure.
I just watched on Apple TV the Michael J. Fox Still.
Oh, yeah. The documentary about it.
Wow,
It was good.
really good.
That's what he's been doing all the press for.
Yeah, really, really good. So, I think it's hard to watch, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that what it does very well is it takes the idea of, okay, with any documentary that you're going to do, you want to get a backstory of like for younger people who are watching that want to really get an idea of who Michael J. Fox is. They show them like, you forget how massive Michael J. Fox was back in the 80s, right? Like,
Family Ties?
but how he got Family Ties, they show it. I didn't know the whole story about it. They didn't want him. Tartikoff didn't want him.
Who do they want?
They didn't really say, but they just said that they didn't think that he could, that what Tartikoff had said was, yeah, he might be able to hit the comedy, but you can't put him on cereal boxes. And then after he became the massive star, he sent a picture of himself on a cereal box to Tartikoff and signed it.
Did they talk about he was in a movie called Class of 1984?
I think they showed clips from it.
It's amazing. First of all, it's a great exploitation film about a gang of teenagers that go after a teacher.
Okay.
It's brutal. Mark
no.
Lester directed
I've never heard of it.
No.
Oh, you got to watch it.
Well, they showed a lot of his stuff that he did when he was growing up, but they didn't. But what they did, what was really interesting, was they would tell a story about something that actually went on in his real life, but they intercut it with footage from his movies. So like if he was going out, like he's like, when he got diagnosed with Parkinson's, he's like, I just sat on the street and thought, and they showed what's it, Big Lights, Big City? Is that those other
Bright Lights, Big
Lights,
City.
Big City. So they showed a clip from that, or Secret of My Success. They showed when he first got the gig at, but the way that they intercut it was brilliant. It's really, really good. And but again, it's the guy, poor guy. It's just like he's breaking his arm all the time. He's breaking his hands because he can't control his body, so he falls all the time. And it's just like it's tough. His relationship with his wife is just, I mean, she's a fantastic, fantastic human being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's endured this long.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of being a hero to all of us.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and he's still going.
Yeah, I'm surprised you did. I
haven't seen it
Yeah, I was
yet.
going to text you. You heard about it. Though.
Yeah. And I also watched a lot of his interviews, and I will watch it because, of course, like every breathing human being on the planet, I'm a big fan of his.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
I will check it out.
You'll love it.
It's that kind of shit is very sad, though.
It is.
It is very sad.
It was tough to watch because of the obvious, but it was also really. I was talking to PLD about it. Like he's like, it was sad. I was like, yes and no, because there's also like that revisiting of your childhood.
Yeah.
To go back there. No, like you said, what he meant to all of us.
That's the
and
sad part.
It is. Well, yes, there's a lot of there's absolutely, but there's also the I think the juxtaposition of not just the sadness, but like also the joy as well, which it does. You're right. It blends into the sadness of it all, but it's still, you still feel that like, oh man, this guy used to really make me feel good watching his stuff. And like, you forget he was a massive movie star, and he admits, he's like, yeah, I was a dick at times. He's like, I was kind of caught up in my own stuff, and he's so honest and so raw, and I highly recommend that it's on Apple TV. So if you want to check it out, it's called Still, and it's the Michael J. Fox documentary. All right, let's get to. I mean, I guess that was a sad story, but let's get to some other sad news, unfortunately. And the great Ray Stevenson has passed at 58 years old. Now the news came on Monday, I believe. And yeah, it's just that at the time that I'm reading this, it was still undisclosed as kind of what happened, but there was kind of rumors that he had kind of had a sickness. It's something he had on set. I'm not sure what had happened, but either way, right before his 59th birthday, he passed away, and obviously he's got Ahsoka coming up. I first remember him. I mean, he's been in tons of stuff. But for me, it was Rome.
Yeah.
I loved that show. Rome was so ahead of its time. Like it today is the type. If that show is put into motion today, it gets, because remember originally it was supposed to be like 7 seasons.
Well, it was too expensive.
Way too expensive. $100 million back then.
Yeah, now
that's a
people,
lot.
100 million. That's nothing.
Right.
You don't think that
Citadel.
people think of that as a huge show?
No. I'm just saying that like it was.
You're like, if it came out now, it would be even bigger?
Oh
Or-
yeah. I mean that if it came out today, you would actually have people. It was so much of a risk. HBO didn't know what to do with it. They got scared. Because Rome, the history of Rome, you could have covered 15 seasons of Rome if you wanted to do it. But what they did was, I don't know if you remember this, but they had season 1, which was so detailed into the building of Julius Caesar and all that, and then season 2, they condensed like, what was it, like 50 years of Rome in history because they knew they were closing it because it was too expensive. Nowadays, if they were preparing for a show at that size, they would say, okay, we have to be prepared. Putting on an HBO. HBO would do much different because people are prepared for that type of series now. Nobody was watching that kind of thing.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
what did you just say? What network?
Max. Sorry, that went to play today.
Today,
didn't it? Yeah.
No, but
There's-
that's still HBO. It's not. That's the HBO original. Is not.
I know, but he's bringing up just the fact. What do you
I
think
know,
about
but isn't that still right? Or HBO's not called HBO now?
No, HBO's gone as of today.
No, I thought HBO Max was gone, and that's just Max, but HBO is HBO. Isn't HBO
So
and
confusing.
Max is HBO Max?
No, it's just Max now.
There's no such thing as HBO.
I'm just curious, like, is the HBO, the bzzz at the beginning,
Right.
With the
No, I
is
think
that
that's
gone?
still there. I think HBO Originals exists, and then HBO Max is just Max.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No. The
I think the
network
whole thing is gone.
Is gone. HBO is gone as an entity. Now, my question is this: in the Succession finale, is it going to start with the HBO symbol? They're not going to. Are they going to get? Because all the shows that HBO made, are they going to
They
change?
can't change it all the way through because the way I look at it is like WWE used to be WWF.
Right.
Now, when they refer to it back in the day, they refer to it as WWE. However, when you go back on watch the old footage, remove the WWF logo. They don't remove all that stuff too. And the difference is that was legally they had to do that because the the Wildlife Federation or whatever foundation. So they had to change their name. They did not have to change. Is that why he got booed? By the way, why did he get booed in Boston?
Because the Writers Guild.
Oh, okay.
But here's what I don't understand. As someone who directed some Skin of Max shows, 5 episodes of Femme Fatales.
Yeah, you did.
So why would they want to identify this network with Cinemax or Skin
I know,
Max,
and not just call it HBO,
and not call HBO, which has always been a Tiffany brand as far as programming is concerned.
I don't think you guys are right on this.
Okay, go. What do you say?
I'm not sure. I'm on the HBO website right now, which is HBO.com. And as of today, still, it says, how do you get your HBO on TV? You can still get HBO through TV, not through Max, and it's just called HBO. The channel's HBO.
But what do
then
they
there's
show?
HBO Max, which is now just called Max, and that they show HBO originals. So that would be like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
So Max doesn't show that?
No, they do. HBO,
weird.
you can get HBO on Max. I'm not justifying
No, I know
it.
you're
It's
not.
fucking
I know you're
crazy.
not. It's so stupid.
But I believe HBO as a brand still exists. Just HBO Max doesn't exist. That is my understanding of it. I'm very confused, though.
Why would you get rid of HBO?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I don't think they...
I mean, the funny thing about HBO is there's nothing called HBO except HBO.
Right.
Right,
It's not
totally.
like Warner Brothers home box office.
Right. But I even the point. Let's say that HBO.
And I'm not even certain.
But
Yeah.
let's say for argument's sake, it's still around, right? Why would you make it so confusing? Why don't you just HBO Max was fine? Who had a problem with HBO Max?
Warner Brothers
nobody.
has had a really hard time figuring out this streaming thing, right? So if we take it back for a second, when they announced DC All Access, that was Warner Brothers streaming service, but they also had CW Seed, which was Warner Brothers' other streaming service. Then they announced that they're doing HBO Max. Half the shows from DC All Access or DC Universe with All Access on it went over to HBO. Same with some of the CW shows. And then vice versa. And now everything just being Max, it's like they just couldn't, at no step of the way have they made the perfect decision.
Rob, I want to ask you, what do you think the reason is, like, inside of that conversation where they're sitting around and Zoloft, he gets Zoloft for this one. This is a Zoloft move. This isn't a Zaslav. I've been giving him props.
That's insulting to Zoloft.
but for this movie, sitting around in the board meeting, and he goes, you know what I was thinking? HBO, it's been around for years, right? Let's take it off. Let's just get rid of it. Let's just call it Max. Why do you think they make that call?
I think this is true of a lot of things because he didn't watch HBO. Just like the people that take over our favorite IPs, they don't love our IPs. They haven't watched our IPs. They haven't thought much about them. So they're making decisions not based on someone like myself who's watched HBO for 40 years.
Yeah.
So, and I have a great association. There's HBO Films. They made great made-for-TV movies like Against the Wall that John Frankenheimer directed. They've done great miniseries. Do you remember the show Dream On?
I love Dream On.
Okay.
She was just on. She's his wife is on Shrinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Martin Tupper. I love that character. Yeah. That was an HBO show from the early 90s. Sex and the City.
Yeah, of
HBO.
course.
I mean,
Sopranos,
these Sopranos. These are quintessential pop culture moments, and in terms of television as well, famous, great stuff, all associated with HBO.
Right.
Why would you want to get rid of that? HBO historically is the top brand in television.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
If they are keeping HBO as a channel, is it smart to disconnect HBO Max from HBO by removing the name HBO because people have been getting confused and it is making the brand lose its value with things like Gossip Girl, which was the most atrocious reboot of all of the reboots that I have watched. Not trying to insult
I know what you're saying.
but like horrible.
Right.
There have been some things that have been on HBO Max. I can't name one HBO original show that's a stinker. I can't name one.
Right.
On HBO Max, there have been some true stinkers. Do you think that they are going for this more? They want more variety. They want
It's like separating Disney Plus from Hulu type.
right,
thing.
kind of. Which now they
I know,
aren't. But
right, but I know what you mean. It was like when they were doing that.
Maybe he is thinking HBO is our golden goose, and all the HBO stuff goes on Max, but we don't want to be called HBO Max because then people are going to be confused on what's an HBO Max show and what's an HBO show.
But everything that you're saying, yes, I think it's a very valid point. The problem is, everything we were just saying sounds so much more confusing than just calling it.
Yeah,
HBO
completely.
Max. Yeah.
They're fucking it up. There's
Yeah.
no way to say that they aren't messing this up right now.
Yeah.
It is confusing. The fact that we are all three in this space every second of every day, and we all have three different interpretations of what they're doing.
Right.
Like after reading the articles,
Right.
Really looking into it. Like I'm not
don't
sitting
know.
here like, I'm not sure what they're doing. How could one find out? I'm on their websites. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know what their plan is, and
Right.
that's
Right.
not a good sign.
Yeah. It does. I do want to jump back because if we, this is
So
what
Ray.
this is what I love about this. So our show, as you can see, not as structured as other shows you've been in the past, but that's kind of what we love about it. You know, so where it's just kind of free form conversation. So
And I have updates for you too.
I want to hear that in a second too. But before we do that, I do want to talk about Ray Stevenson because of Rome and because of everything. And it does show how that show really meant a lot to people for those who watch it. And he was arguably the best thing on that show. And then the career that he had overall. The Punisher movie itself that he was in was good. But
I really liked him as the Punisher.
I loved him as the Punisher. And he's just done great stuff. But did you ever get a chance to meet Ray Stevenson?
I never met him.
Okay. And what were your overall thoughts on him as a performer?
What I liked about him was he had a very, kind of like Gerard Butler has, a very manly presence.
Yeah.
Like he will rip your head off.
Right.
And I believed him as somebody who was dangerous.
like an alpha dog.
Yes. Yes, exactly that way. And I thought that he played those roles very, very well.
Yeah.
And that's why they cast him as, I mean, he had to, what Thomas Jane played Punisher in the first, well, actually Dolph Lundgren played the first
That's
Punisher.
absolutely right.
And then
Yeah.
Thomas Jane, but he followed up, like Thomas Jane didn't come back, but Ray Stevenson was a killer Punisher.
He was.
Did you meet him?
No, I never had a chance to meet Ray Stevens. Did you?
No.
yeah.
But so many of our colleagues, I mean, looking through social media that day was like gutting, especially
Yeah.
because half the people had just talked to him.
Right, because the announcement of like when they showed from Ahsoka, which leads into the fact that because someone asked me yesterday, is this the last role that he's going to do? And the answer to that is always you never know because there's so much stuff that he could have shot. Look at Ray Liotta. Like Ray Liotta still has stuff coming out, and he passed over a year and 2 months ago, whatever it was. I just saw him recently on Blackbird. I saw him on a lot of different things.
That was great, by the way.
Great.
I can't believe that I'm behind on that.
It's so
What's
good.
up with me?
I don't know. It's so
And that's
good.
another Apple Plus show.
Yes.
Those shows, even the ones that aren't so great, like Invasion. Did you see Invasion?
No, I didn't see
Don't ever see it.
It's bad.
But
Apple Plus is doing really well.
their shows are beautifully
Really
made.
good.
Yeah.
The production values are really, really great stuff.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
I am glad to see, as Roxy was mentioning, the outpour of kind of love. I never heard a bad word about him. I'll tell you that.
No.
Like from everybody who interviewed him, everybody who spent time with him, even stuff that you would hear throughout the years on set. Never a bad word about him ever. And you could tell from, I mean, Rosario Dawson put out a post, after working with him recently, and I think that it's going to have. I think he's going to be so good in the role, and I just wonder, I did see some people saying like there were a few comments I saw. I wasn't necessarily going to watch Ahsoka, or I saw somebody said I wasn't going to support the show anyway because I don't like the where it's going, but I want to go check it out because I want to pay respect to one of his last performances. So, it's tragic. We still don't really know what happened, right?
No.
Yeah.
It's almost like at this point, and this happens all the time, I think as society, because we have so little control over what happens to people, we do get obsessed with like what happened to
Right.
them. And it's like, it doesn't
matter. They're just not here anymore.
they're not here.
And I give a lot of love and respect to Ray, to his family, and he really did mean a lot to so many people. And 58 is young. 58 is really, really young. So, yeah, once again, there's really nothing you can say except love, thoughts to his family, and yeah, he'll be missed. Yeah. All right, we're gonna move on. Try to make an easy transition out of that.
Yeah, it's a hard job for you right now. Let's see what you do.
Right back and forth. I'm just going to bring up a story, Rox. It's going to be
What do you think?
plain and simple. I think that where we're going to go next, let's talk about Killers of the Flower Moon, man. This movie is getting some praise. Now, it's 175 hours long.
It's like 204 minutes.
It's something ridiculous, but people are loving it. So here's the story coming out of Cannes. All right, so the reviews are in. This comes from Dark Horizons. Killers of the Flower Moon Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon received the biggest standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival so far on Saturday night. The world premiere of the 3-hour and 26-minute epic, that's the right word to call it, epic, about an unexplored dark chapter of American history and unrelenting greed resulted in a 9-minute standing ovation after the credits ended. Scorsese, returning to the festival for the first time since 1985 after hours, appeared to have delivered with this reportedly $200 million story set in northeastern Oklahoma as members of the Osage Nation are murdered in a systematic fashion for the sinister ends. Leonardo DiCaprio, De Niro, Lily Gladstone, Jesse Plemons walked the red carpet. Reviews have already started to pop, and here are some of the quotes. Those heading to a Martin Scorsese movie looking for the electric verve of so many of his past films may initially be disappointed, but as Killers of the Flower Moon steps in, it shocks, resounds, and haunts. That's from Richard Lawson over at Vanity Fair. The triple threat combo of Scorsese, DiCaprio, and De Niro. Obviously, the movie's main selling point also comes to feel like its central distraction. Gladstone's performance goes a long way. And it just goes on and on a lot of these different reviews that are raving about the film. But let me start here. I want to ask you this, Rob. This is a 3-hour and 26-minute movie. It cost $200 million to make. I have a hard time believing that this movie is going to make a profit in theaters.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'll watch anything that Martin Scorsese makes.
Same.
Anything, any movie he does. What I like is that he's one of the only people that can tackle non-box office subjects like silence.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Or Kundun.
Yeah.
He's one of our last filmmakers that is allowed to make cinema. I mean, here's the thing. I don't mind a lot of genre entertaining, whether it's superhero movies or movies like Super Mario or whatever. The problem is we're not getting the other kinds of films. Studios used to they made romantic comedies, they made dramas, they made legal thrillers, they made action movies. There was a whole potpourri of things that studios made. They don't do that anymore. The only business that the studios are in are making $150 million movies that make $1 billion at the box office. That's what they want. Luckily, a streamer, these streamers are spending ungodly sums of money that they don't have to get a box office return for.
Right.
So this is going to be an Apple. This is an Apple Plus film that's being distributed through Paramount.
I think so. But Roxy, let me ask you this, because as I hear Rob say that, and because they kind of understand that they're not going to make this money back in the theater. They're just not going to do it. But Air now didn't cost the same amount. It cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
But Air knew that it wasn't making a lot of money in the theater. That's why they did the deal with Amazon. That's why it's been out. It came out on Amazon Prime like last week. So
but it made over $50 million at the box office.
Right. So that's what I mean. It made it. Now that's not enough to make the profit of the film plus the marketing, obviously. But it was them basically saying.
Makes it done.
It says, okay, we're not going to make a profit on this thing, but let's put it in the theaters and make some money on it. But our deal is really with Amazon Prime. Do you think this is a similar kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's cool that they have that option because it means that we do get to see movies like this. My question for you guys, every time I hear things like it's a 9-minute standing ovation, 11-minute, 12-minute, is there any correlation between how long people are giving an ovation and how good a movie is? Like any correlation?
At Cannes, I don't really think so because yeah, but I think the longer, because apparently like Indiana Jones got a standing ovation too, but that was more so the respect of Harrison Ford hanging up the fedora.
I think the longer the applause, the actual quality of the movie goes up.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
But then like The Idol, the series that The Weeknd is in with Johnny Depp's daughter, that got like
Lily Rose.
Lily Rose. That got a huge ovation as well. And
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Like why? And also who starts it and stops it? Have either of you guys ever been there?
No, can't.
No.
Yeah, who times it? Right. There's like
And
one guy
somebody
they
take out
hire.
their phone
It's his
and
only
is like-
job. He sleeps for the most of the year, but then just for that job, he wakes up and he comes. He's like, I got a gig. He's got a gig, and he's got to time it. And
Or is
he's
it
like,
based
he's
on a
sweating.
feeling? Or people are like, it was like 11 minutes long, and then articles are like, it was 11 minutes long.
Yeah, that's they do that all the time.
I just every time it's a big sentence in the article. It was a 12-minute standing O, and I'm like, I don't know if that's supposed to help me with anything. Like, does that convince me to do anything?
I mean, what I find interesting about this though, these hybrid releases, like you're talking about Air. At Netflix, they were spending $100 or $220 on The Gray Man.
Wow.
The Russo brothers, The Gray Man.
Is that how much they spent? Wow.
220, and then Red Notice was $200 million. there's no return on those movies.
Right.
None.
But they know that kind of going in, right?
They know going in, but how do they, now the streamers are talking about how they're losing money. When you spend $200 million on a film that's not going to get any box office return, what makes it different from a $150 million movie or a $100 million movie?
Well, but I think that's partially part of this whole thing with the writer's strike, right? It's like because the streamers won't give up how many people are actually watching these things. Does more money come inside of that somehow? Do they figure it? And that's why I also think like Hulu, and I understand when you have these ads and stuff, that makes sense on how they're going to make this money. And also understanding why Netflix had to start putting ads on different tier to make some of that money back. And because those ads can definitely take care of some of your costs.
Sure. And that's what they used to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's normal. That's normal stuff.
Look, I think writers should get paid more money initially.
Yeah.
If it's a streaming movie, you pay the writers where it all begins. You pay them more money up front and give them the time they need if they're working on a series. I mean, look, I don't know if you've been watching Succession.
I have not, but Roxy tells me to every week.
Okay.
You don't want to start this battle with him. I've been trying.
Well, if you want an example of how valuable writers are.
It's the best written show on TV.
It's
by far.
This season, the 4th season, it's like I watched that show. I have to watch it twice. Like
mouth agape.
And the writing, and it's people in rooms talking.
Those speeches at the event that took place this past episode. I'm trying to not spoil it.
Just all I can say is James Cromwell.
I love James Cromwell.
But you look at that and you're like, here's something that I shouldn't say only because it's brilliantly directed. The cast is incredible. It's incredible, but the writing.
Yeah.
But I'm getting a sense, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't know your stance on this at all. When you're saying that you should pay them more upfront, are you trying to say that you don't believe that residuals should be?
Well, here's the thing. The idea of residuals is based on an old model, an old revenue model where TV shows were paid for by advertiser dollars. You get advertising money, and that if a show was successful and aired more and was repeated more, writers got paid more. If shows got canceled, the show went away and there were no residuals. Right. I think in the streaming world, that economic model is different. The problem is writers have been getting paid less. They're not given the time to work on their shows the way they used to.
And they're rushed and pushed.
And there's not as many of them in the room.
And there's not as many of them in the room. And they also don't stay on shows very long because it used to be like, I'll use Star Trek as an example. There were 26 episodes of Star Trek a year when they made Star Trek. For 18 years and 25 seasons, there was 26 episodes a season. So writers knew that they were going to work for the majority of the year on 26 episodes of TV. Now there's 8 or maybe 10, and yet they're not working any less. They're working. They're still working as hard. They're just not working for as long. So the writers, you can't make a living,
right?
And then not only that, they're paying you for less time. They're not allowing writers to go onto their sets to watch their shows being produced. And another thing that's happening is that writers also learn all about producing in terms of what it means to be on set, what it means to participate in post-production, to watch their episodes edited. They're not getting any of that opportunity anymore. So
do you not believe in residuals across the board then for actors?
Oh, no, I absolutely believe in residuals. But the problem is, there aren't residuals the way there used to be in terms of, so if a show goes on, so if you have a show that is paid for on, say, Netflix, if a show's on Netflix, they pay for it, they make it, and that's it. So there's no more additional money coming in to pay residuals. So there's no economic model there. The problem is, what they should do then is tie in a contract. They should tie, if you get so many views, you get paid a certain amount.
Well, that is essentially what residuals are supposed to be based on the success of the show, how long it runs, where it ends up running, and if it was a streaming show, but then, or an ABC show, but then gets picked up by a Netflix kind of thing, or in this case, Hulu.
So in 2019, Netflix paid $100 million to run Friends for a season.
Right.
$100 million. The people that had negotiated, actors, the producers, they all got a nice chunk of change off that sale because that was done under an old economic model. I think everybody should get residuals based on performance. That's what they tie in. Like if you are making a feature film, like a director, a box office bump, if your movie makes $100 million, you get money.
Yeah, back end.
Back end. And I think that should be I think that should be absolutely a factor. People should get paid for if something's more successful, but they don't even want you to know those numbers.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part about it, right?
Yeah, we talk about
because
that
of
all
that
the
because of that
time.
reason. Yeah.
And I would say, look, just pay people, especially writers, a fair wage, because it all begins and ends with the written word.
Right.
And just if you want to change the model, then pay people what they're worth.
Well, there you go. And
Are you going to watch Succession now?
I keep going back and forth, right? Like I'll watch
What's the back?
Yeah,
Just go
yeah.
forth.
commitment and the matter of like sitting there, because I know that once I tune into it, I'm going to be watching it every day, right? Because until I'm caught up.
You're
There's
welcome.
only
I know.
40 episodes.
I just watched The Last Unicorn, though. I know you know that movie.
The animated last year.
Yeah, that's right.
From the 80s.
That's absolutely right.
But
That's
doesn't have time for Succession.
because it's an hour and a half movie as opposed
okay.
to, you know.
You should watch Succession because it's a tour de force in the medium.
I don't like that you just brushed over The Last Unicorn.
I'm not going to brush over the last unicorn, but I know you have kids, so that makes sense.
No,
They
watched
love
it by myself. And that's not true. I started watching it by myself, and then I watched it with my daughter, who loved
Okay, well, that's
You watched it twice?
it. 1.5.
look. I would just
Something's
say,
wrong with you.
Yes.
for anyone who's interested in filmmaking at all, TV at all, narrative storytelling, Succession is.
I know.
a genius show.
I have watched the first 2 episodes, and I really enjoyed them. My wife, on the other hand, bailed on it. But
It's
Let
the
me ask you this.
greatest.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Do you like The Big Short and Margin Call?
You do not have to sell me on the show. I know that I'm going to like the show.
Apparently we do have to sell you on the show.
The answer is yes. I like both of those.
Okay.
But I know I'm going to like this because I liked what I watched so far. It's the commitment of it all. Where I rewatched Dungeons and Dragons the other day, but again, watched it with my daughter.
Okay, so you're just talking about 4 hours of time that you could have banged out 4 episodes of Succession.
Yeah, look, things happen. But I had enough time to shave my balls, everybody, and that's right. That's Manscaped. Have you used Manscaped? And you can get the perfect package. That's right. That's exactly right. Because you got to have time to shave your balls. You might not have time to watch Succession, but you do have time to shave your ball bags. And if you want to do it the right way, summer is coming. And if you're ready to unveil your beach bod, Manscaped is here to ensure your body's ready for the wild with their game-changing full-body grooming and hygiene products. Don't be that guy at the beach with the Austin Powers chest hair. Come on. You got to do it. If you grew some of those winter man tits, the least you can do is make sure that they're hairless. It's time to get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. But yeah, use that code BIGTHING. I love it. I've been using Manscaped forever. You know it. We're so excited that they're back. There's so many things that you can do with it. Rob, do you use the Manscaped?
I have since the 80s, dude.
The Manscaped is amazing.
They're just the latest in a long line of products. Probably the best I've ever used.
They are
I have to
the
say
best.
that. I used to get criticized for manscaping in college.
Well, yeah, but now you can
Girls
use.
thought it was weird.
Yeah, but now you can use Manscaped, and they think you're doing it right. You're hip.
Now I'm
And-
old.
Well, not
No one
anymore.
cares.
You don't have to be. With Manscaped, you don't have to be old. You can be the guy. Because
I love it.
The other thing too is they have the nose hair trimmer. That's my favorite. The weed whacker. Oh, sign me up. I love that thing. They got they have everything inside of the performance package. They have the Manscaped crop preserver, the ball deodorant, all of it. It's amazing.
It's all good too.
Yeah. If you're willing, and if you wear sandals, you can get the Manscaped Shears 2.0 nail kit. I don't like long nails. I hate long nails. I hate them. And if I'm sitting, you remember back in the
I
day, you
remember
know how
all
much
too well.
I hate long nails.
You call people out on their long nails.
I hate them, and I call myself out, and I don't have to do it anymore because I have Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGTHING, manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with that code BIGTHING at manscaped.com. Trim your chesticles with the besticles. See what we did there?
You do.
Thank you. Let's talk Little Mermaid, guys. I want to talk Little Mermaid. Good transition.
What a segue.
That's what we do.
Under the sea.
That's what we do. Yeah, you don't have to be under the sea anymore because you'll be. You'll be like a mermaid. Be smooth if you have Manscaped. But I'll tell you, Little Mermaid.
I haven't seen this. How crazy is that?
This is what I'm gonna tell you about Little Mermaid.
You guys both saw it.
I haven't seen
You
it.
haven't seen it either?
So when I went to, I told you, I was not excited about this movie. I didn't think that there was a reason to remake it. Like everything else that they did. The Lion King was a shot-by-shot remake, but I enjoyed
I watched
watching
your
it.
out of the theater review.
Thank you so
of
much.
The Mermaid.
Yeah, thank you so
Little
much.
Mermaid.
I saw that I did see with my daughter.
You were hustling in that review.
You mean out?
You were walking.
Yeah, because I had to get to the crosswalk.
I was like, he is moving.
I had to get to the crosswalk. My daughter is so good now because she knows what I do that when I take her to screen, she's just like, when I first started doing it, she was like, "Hey, Dad," I'm like, "You can't jump into this thing." Now she just knows, and she wanted to hear my thoughts on it too because like, we went to the movie itself. Now I didn't know what I was going to think about this, right? And I talked about this on my non-spoiler review. The problem is, I think like I'm curious to hear your guys' opinion on the fact. I think like somewhere in 2016, the pop culture movie news space got very political, right? Like in where it was, and it was Last Jedi had happened, and where it's just like it felt very much like right wing, left wing politics. It was very, if you liked the Last Jedi, you were this. If you didn't, if you hated it, you were this. But it's just all blended in, and it felt, if this movie I think is absolutely like nobody even saw it, and then you got people who just wanted to hate it because the actress was black, right? And then there are people, because I want people right away to go, oh, just because I didn't want to see it, I'm racist. No, that's not the case. There are some people like myself that saw the trailer, said, she looks great, she sounds great. I don't know if she's going to capture the essence of Ariel at all. I don't know. I've never seen her act. And I thought that in the trailers, the computer imagery didn't look very good.
Flounder.
What about Flounder?
Looked like ass.
Right. And the crab, right? I will say my first concern that I just mentioned, Halle Bailey is incredible as Ariel, like incredible. And like she just emotionally just did it, and I was really impressed. And the other thing is there a reason, if you're going to make a remake, can you add to the story without changing stuff up that make people go, well, why did you do that? That's not what happened in the thing. They add to the story. Now, there's a couple things, Lin-Manuel Miranda added some of the songs, and I thought there was one particular song that felt a little out of place. My kid loved it. Felt a little out of place, but didn't ruin the movie for me. But I really enjoy. I still think the CGI, some of the CGI is bad. I think some of the stuff you look at and you go, well, they're on a set, or that's definitely made with a computer. But then there's other times it looked phenomenal. But I like going into it with an open mind, going, if you do like it, say it. But if you don't, say it very similar to what we were just talking about with the conversations you want to have in your channel. Say it in a way that you can discuss, that you can be out there. And it doesn't mean you're a racist. It doesn't mean that you don't like it but articulate why you don't like it. And that's very fair. I like the original. I don't like that one. What do you think about? I know you haven't seen it yet, but what do you think about going into this?
Well, to me, it's all situational. Like I didn't hear anybody objecting when Will Smith was the genie in Aladdin,
right?
Because the genie in Aladdin's like blue,
right? So
who cares, right? It doesn't matter. And what I'd rather see is the best actor for the role. And it's Halle Berry. I always want to say Halle Berry.
No, it's Haley Bailey.
Halle Bailey.
Halle Bailey.
That's
Yeah,
right. Halle Bailey.
Right.
For me, when I first saw her, she looks incredible because she even looks more like, if I imagine what a mermaid looks like, she looked more like a mermaid. She's got this unbelievable face. I love her face.
She's so likable.
And she's so likable. And first of all, she's an incredible singer. So to me, she's perfect casting. Like, it's a mermaid. Like, I don't know. I'm not up on my racial diversity mermaids. A mermaid is a mermaid.
It's a fantasy.
A mermaid
creature.
is a fantasy creature. So I'm like, get the best actor and the best singer,
right? And
the person that you're going to fall in love with the most.
And is also in the same way, which I do. I think she just annihilated the role. But if you feel that didn't feel like Ariel to me, I didn't like the performance, you're allowed to say that. I mean, if you go and see the movie, but if you don't go and see the movie, come on, you got no merit.
Here's the thing. Have you ever seen The Shawshank Redemption?
Don't ask me that question.
Have you read the story?
The short one by Stephen King?
Yeah. The story is called Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. Right. The character of Red that Morgan Freeman plays is a white dude in the story. Can you imagine anyone other than Morgan Freeman playing that character?
Absolutely not.
And they even acknowledge it in the movie. Why do they call you Red? Maybe it's because I'm Irish.
Right.
They kept that from the story. Nobody has ever said they had a problem with changing, because Morgan Freeman is great in the role.
And it's also because by growing up with The Little Mermaid, they feel like that they own it. And it's like, you don't. You might be attached to it, and you're allowed to be attached to it, but you got to go in open-minded to the things. But Roxy, what do you I mean, yeah, you missed the screening though.
Yeah, I missed the screening. I will go see the movie though, because I want to go support it. And also, I'm like a Disney princess nut. I love these things growing up. Little Mermaid was never that was always my sister's one. So, I loved Aladdin, Lion King, Mulan.
That's how Vivian was, and Vivian loved this one.
Yeah, but I do like Little Mermaid, and I definitely will see this. I think she looks amazing. We have this conversation about Superman all the time. He's a fucking alien. He can be whatever race he wants to be. She's a mermaid. She can be whatever race she wants to be. But to your point about things getting really political at that time, I think it's not in the movie space. Everything is political. I'm on these fucking dating apps, which are just an awful
Yeah,
experience.
the world
But
got a lot more political. Yeah.
one of the things you can write on there is not political. And
Yeah.
I always swipe no on that because, like, what do you mean? Like, you can't just be somebody who has no opinions. Like, everything is. So you have to. And so everybody's going to have their own opinion going into this movie. What color skin somebody has shouldn't be political.
Right.
But of course it fucking is. And now it's going to affect the movie, I think, pretty greatly.
I think the difference is now, you know, I've always said one of my rules of storytelling, I used to say never put your universe before your characters in your story. Everyone's like, we have to have a shared universe. I'm like, no, you should concentrate on your characters and your story. And if they work, you can build your universe from that. You can't do it the other way. I think the same is true of having an agenda. You can't have an agenda before your characters and your story.
Right.
And I think that part of our political system now, what's happening is everyone's putting their team first. Everyone's putting whatever thing they belong to first, when really what you're doing is you're doing things backwards. Storytelling.
Come to the story first.
Come to the story first and come out of the characters and the tale that you're telling.
Right.
And any other way is compromising the story itself.
So I don't disagree with you at all. What I will say is that I think that sometimes people can, because a lot of studios, a lot of people do that. I don't, and I think that a lot of people have assumed that Rob Marshall and Disney did it for this. And I think that, okay, I can understand why people would come to that conclusion, right? But not the case. This was, they worked on the story here. And as you say, with how great of a singer she is, that theater, when she was singing some of those songs, you know, when a really good singer is so powerful that it's almost like the music just like hits you, goes through you, and you're like, whoa, even if it's a song you've heard a million times.
Had you listened to her and Chloe before?
So I had heard her sing at D23, and it was really good, but it didn't resonate. I thought she was great, but it didn't resonate the way it did sitting in that theater. Like you could feel people. It was like a concert when people are locked in on a singer and
they know the songs too.
They know the songs, and it's like, but it's just like boom, and she adds things to it. Doesn't change the song, but just the way certain notes and the way that she hits it, you're like, boom. It's like she's really a phenomenal talent.
Also, you know, I'm sure that Rob Marshall, who directed the film, I'm sure that they probably auditioned a lot of people.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And they picked the person they thought was best.
Yeah, that's
for the
not
role.
a direct offer situation.
Yeah, no,
sure.
I mean, they had to be with Disney corporate, and they were talking about The Little Mermaid's one of their biggest things.
Yeah.
So this was probably, as far as Disney goes, some of the most important casting in maybe the decade.
Yeah, they've got this one coming out. They got Boogeyman coming out. They have some things kind of working right now in different genres. And then I want to move over and I want to talk about Indiana Jones a little bit in a second. But before I do, I also want to tell you guys about both RUMPL and BetterHelp. Let me tell you about RUMPL and BetterHelp right now. RUMPL is back. I love RUMPL. I've been telling you about RUMPL. Please tell me that you've been getting them. Please. And tell me what you think of them, because they are amazing. They're on a mission to introduce the world to better blankets because they're made with durable, sustainable materials and they're built to last. They recycle over 5 million plastic water bottles a year, and they are B Corp certified, climate neutral, and they donate 1% of all their sales to environmental causes. They're built to endure the elements because RUMPL blankets are made with durable materials that repel spills, sand, stains, and odor no matter where you bring it. If it gets dirty, just throw it in the washing machine. So what I love about them also, by the way, it's not just for outdoors. Really good for, you can get one where you just watch some TV on the couch, kick back. It's pretty great. You can bring one out to the movie theater with you. It keeps you warm and comfy. I love them. I take them everywhere. I take them to the kids' soccer games. I take them to, we do picnics, and then I just take them inside. Now, if you guys want to check this out, you want to do what I'm doing, go to rumpl.com/thebigthing, but use that code BIGTHING at the checkout, and you'll get 10% off of your first order. rumpl.com/thebigthing. Code THEBIGTHING. Do it. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Love BetterHelp. Happy to be working with them. Already, BetterHelp has helped out close friends of mine and helped me out. Recommendations. They're really great. And I'll tell you that for you guys, you know, how much time, honestly, do you really spend on yourself in a given week versus how much you spend on other people? How do you balance the two? It's easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you, and you never really take a moment to think about what you need for yourself. A lot of times, especially when you want to help your family, you want to help people out when they call you up, and it's like, who's helping you? And you give a lot of time giving, and what happens? You feel stretched thin and you feel burned out. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others. You know, Roxy is someone who's very close to me, and she's cool with me talking about it. She'll talk about it in just a second. Roxy was looking for somebody to talk to. I recommended BetterHelp, and she has really benefited from it. So she's been talking to her person for a while now. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Seriously, it's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, it's flexible, and it's suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and then you can switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/bigthing today, and you'll get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/bigthing. Thank you once again to our sponsors, BetterHelp and RUMPL. Do me a favor, please. As I've been seeing, when people go and they want to help out the show and they want to support the show, they get the sponsors and then they let me know that they got them and use those codes, man. Not only does it help the show, it helps you guys. We only work with sponsors that we know, that we like. Roxy, you've talked about it many times. BetterHelp.
Oh my gosh, it's my jam.
Yeah.
I'm still there. I don't think I've talked about it in a minute.
No.
I love them. Like, my girl just gets me, and she's so active. I write her messages every night.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You know, I talked about it a little bit at our live show, and some people asked me, they're like, so you're messaging with your therapist. Is that weird? And I was like, no, it's so helpful because throughout the week, things come up that I want to mention so that in my session we can talk about it, but I don't have to explain what happened in my session. We can spend more time with her talking to me about different solutions for it as opposed to spending the whole time having to fucking explain everything.
Right.
It's just been like, oh, I can't believe how much I'm liking it. I never thought I would be somebody who sat in front of a screen and did it.
And you got to curl up next time with a RUMPL blanket while you do it.
You keep telling me that in the cold I'll get a RUMPL blanket.
It's not cold anymore.
And here it is.
That's right. All right, let's talk about something that broke my heart.
What?
The mixed reviews for Indiana Jones.
Are you seeing mixed? Because I'm seeing bad.
Mixed is 50% for me, right? 50-50. So, but it's because it stands at like a 50%. But that's bad overall when you take in consideration James Mangold. That's the most shocking to me. The follow-up of another Indiana Jones movie with people not accepting it, or a lot of the you look at the craziness that happens within Lucasfilm. I think they're an absolute mess right now. Like, they don't know how to get things together. That doesn't surprise me. James Mangold doing a movie that is, they said that the humor is all over the place and it's kind of empty. You can call his movies a lot of things. Empty is not one of them. So were you excited about Indiana Jones at first? Does this take away from were you not excited? What were your overall thoughts?
I'm still excited.
Same.
You know, here's the thing. I'm a James Bond fanatic. You know, I've been a James Bond fanatic my whole life. I'd say it's about 50-50 in terms of James Bond movies being good or bad. It's a rough franchise.
Yeah.
I can't even watch Diamonds Are Forever anymore. When I was a kid, I loved it. Nowadays, not so much.
Right.
But I still love the James Bond franchise. You know? Even it's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Right.
It's pizza. You know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch this movie. Look, I'm only really a fan. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a perfect movie.
Perfect
and
movie.
I think Temple of Doom's a pretty good follow-up. I'm not a big Last Crusade fan, and I certainly didn't love.
Raiders is my favorite out of the three.
Yeah. And look, I want this movie to be good. I think I don't trust anybody anymore when it comes to tentpole movies that are based on long-running IP franchises.
I agree.
I need to see it for myself because everyone said the same thing. Like the long extended opening back during World War II is great. Everyone said the same thing. That it's great. Well, is that enough for you? Because if I see a long 20-minute set piece with Indiana Jones, maybe that will carry me through the rest of the movie. Right. Maybe.
Well, Roxy, what do you think overall with because like here's an example of what Rob says. You know, when you look at a movie, I just saw Fast X yesterday because I had missed it because I was at my brother's wedding, and so I wanted to see it. And it's got like a 53%. Now, I had fun with that movie. Now, very different movies.
Oh my God, totally
very different movies because I think that you judge that movie going in like, I just had a blast. I'm not looking for peak cinema. I'm looking for a bunch of goofy nonsense happening, and does it work better than the last? And I thought yes for Fast X. Indiana Jones, I really disliked the fourth one. Like, I just think it just, the essence of Indy is just not there. Every trailer I've seen, the essence has been there. But did you give it, because Rob and I obviously come from a different generation, did you give a shit about Indiana Jones?
Yeah, oh my God,
okay,
of course,
you do. Okay.
Not that only guys like Indiana Jones, but I have a big brother. So
Right.
it was like a huge thing in my house. And I'm really excited for this still. Like you guys, I feel like we're 3 Indiana Jones apologists right now because we're like, maybe 20 minutes will make us love a whole movie.
Right, and
It's
maybe,
like-
but maybe the audience also will love it though. Like, look at recently, what's been happening is the critics have been really. I mean, this usually happens a lot, but the critics have been low on a movie, and then the audience has gone bananas for
Right.
it.
But I do think that what's good about what's happening is that based on the trailers and based on the stuff we had seen, I actually thought this was going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, Rox, hedge your bets. Like, go
Yeah.
in just thinking, maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. Maybe there'll be minutes that I like, maybe there'll be minutes that I don't. And that's a better way to go into a movie in general. Than the hype being so real. And I think maybe for the critics who saw it, who aren't loving it, maybe it's because they thought it was going to be the best indie of all time.
Right, and they debuted it at Cannes. Which, do you think, in retrospect, even if it's a mixed movie and we wind up loving it, do you think that if they thought that this was going to be a mixed movie, it was a mistake to premiere this at Cannes?
Yes, but I think they thought it was a huge hit.
Me too.
Okay.
I think that's why they were hoping it would come out of Cannes and that it was
People
gonna
will be raving about
stun.
it.
It was
Yeah.
going to stun everyone. And this is the thing: we live in a weird time. Like, let's say someone came to you and said, "You're a big director. Would you direct a Star Wars movie in this day and age?"
It depends on who I am. It depends
You're
on who I
you.
am.
You're you.
No. But I'm saying it depends on who I am in my career. Like, what kind of director am I? Am I a Nolan? Am I who am I? Like, what kind of stature
Anyone.
am I? Matthew Vaughn?
Say you are Christopher Nolan. Say you are David
There are
Fincher.
different directors that have the backbone and have the tough skin to say, I don't care. Tony Gilroy is an example. Tony Gilroy is an example of someone who showrun a Star Wars thing that wanted to do it because Tony Gilroy does not care what the fanboys say.
No.
So it depends on who I was taking
your
that meeting.
personality.
Yeah, but it all matters because of what I've directed in the past. I'll tell you,
Answer his question,
I-
Kristian.
I'm telling you that depends.
I'll
on,
answer your question. My answer is
do it?
yes, I would do it, but I would do it knowing that it could stop my entire career.
Right. Here's the thing: Indiana Jones was introduced to the
Question
public
answered.
still answer the way that I did.
over 40 years ago. You got the same character. We as people change. And the idea that an Indiana Jones movie is going to work as good as it worked the same way as it did in 81 in 2023 is, I think, absurd. The idea that we want these franchises to be what they've been for 40 years, as we grow old and change, we want our franchises to stay the same.
Well,
And how
there-
can that be?
But I think there's a mixture of both. I think you can have it both ways. I think that you can add things of today with things of yesterday and still make it work because I think that's why people love those trailers so
Well,
much because it felt like the trailers felt like the old school.
We've seen it work. Top Gun Maverick worked.
That's right. And
Rocky
that's right.
Balboa worked.
That's right.
You know, even
Creed. I mean, even Creed's a mixture of both.
Creed works.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I read some criticisms of the film saying that Indiana Jones, he's tired, like the character.
Yeah.
He's tired and he's cranky and he's old.
old.
But he is old.
Right.
And I'm like, but that's the story. I like that. I
Right.
like seeing stories of our characters. Like, I love seeing characters come back. Color of Money. Paul Newman, it's a sequel to The Hustler.
Right.
You know, 25 years later, whatever. Fast Eddie Felson is not the character he was in the first movie. I like seeing what happens to people when
Right.
they get older and they come back. I love the Western, The Professionals, a bunch of old over-the-hill gunfighters or whatever coming back to pull off one last gig.
Yeah.
That's a great idea for a story. And to see what happened to Indiana Jones and then he still figures out how to do it,
Right.
how to get it done. This
Right.
grizzled old guy, I can't be bothered. But then he can be bothered and it could be awesome.
What I hope they do because I happen to really like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And
Fleabag was great.
Yeah, but Indy always has
Did you watch it?
Fleabag. No.
Oh my God,
What?
that one's
I know.
great
Dude.
too.
I know.
Dude.
I know.
And her original show, whatever it was.
I feel I should hang out with Roxy and just watch TV.
Oh my
that's-
God,
that's
Fleabag
what-
was
her
so
thing.
good.
But the thing is, what people like, Allison Duty from the third one.
Yeah.
From the third one. You had Kate Capshaw from the second one. You had, obviously the great Karen Allen in both 1 and 4. India's always had a strong female character with him.
Yeah.
So my concern is also because sometimes they overshadow and you look at, it doesn't matter if it's man, woman, if the main character is overshadowed, I could see people having a problem with that. I haven't seen that criticism yet, but I want to see her have a prominent role, but I want to see it still be Indy's movie. That's one of the concerns I think some people have had, but I didn't see that criticism at all, Rox. Did you?
No, I didn't see that. I also want us to keep in mind that even though it is a dream of mine to go there, Cannes is super pretentious.
Right.
There's a lot of really pretentious people.
Right.
And Indiana Jones is not pretentious. It is like rough
Popcorn.
and tumble.
Yeah.
I do think, though, talking about how franchises can kind of evolve, and I know you talked about it a little bit, Top Gun Maverick, and different things do stay the same. There's a lot of Indiana Jones that still stays the same in terms of like nowadays, fighting Nazis is effing relevant. You know, like villains are relevant, heroes are relevant. There's a lot of stuff that still works today. I don't think that the franchise is as dated as some of our other franchises where it's like, how could they possibly make this work in 2023? I think that they actually, and the story that you just talked about, that's a story I'm interested in too. How does it happen where he is tired and he's older, but for some reason he's got to do it again? I think all of that works.
I meant more that the fact that people want this within the franchise, they want those stories to feel and be the same,
Right?
As opposed to allowing characters to get older. Like, when they made Never Say Never Again, the Bond film in '83, where they also swapped out Felix Leiter for Bernie Casey, black Felix Leiter. Nobody cared then. So Bond was older. He was getting older, and they kept making fun of him for getting older. He had to go to literally a health farm to kind of dry out.
Yeah.
And I like that. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it gives more depth and shows more life and more real.
My favorite thing, Star Trek. Star Trek characters. Wrath of Khan was about middle age.
But let me ask you: is this? And I'm going to ask it in the least rude way possible, but maybe it comes off.
Be as rude as you want.
Okay. Do you guys like that because it's where you're at in life? Like, would you like that if you were 20 years old and you were going to see an indie movie?
I mean, if I'm 20 years old, and if I've seen the movies back to back to back, and I'm like looking for another Indiana Jones movie of the same, I can see where you'd be maybe disappointed for it too. But no, I don't think it's that particular. I think in general, I like to see the progression of the characters. Even when we saw Logan, the reason why Logan works so much of where he was in his life at that point. And I don't think you need to be older in life to enjoy that movie. People saw the progression of that character.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just asking.
The
question.
But
I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think for me, going back to Star Trek, as a little kid, I started watching Star Trek when I was like 5 years old. When the movies came out, the character of Kirk was older, and I was still a kid.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was interesting watching them getting older and having them being older, incorporating the story. Like in Wrath of Khan, Kirk's like, this is some dude from 15 years ago. He's pissed at me.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it taught me a life lesson. Things have consequences.
That's right.
If you piss somebody off, deal with your shit.
Look at Jason Momoa in Fast X.
Right. They're going to come back to you. And I liked characters. I like seeing characters get older. Even when I was a kid, I liked when there was a mentor student, like in Highlander,
right?
Having
well, you also
Sean
feel
Connery
like
mentor.
But you also feel like you've seen so much of their life and their journey. You feel like you've known them for so long that you get to see like this progression of where they go. So I like this, where they're going to go with and how they're going to continue it. I'm just curious how it's going to go for the reception. What I will ask is this, kind of going more into the business side of things now, where we've been pretty vocal on, this is something people wanted to talk to you about, because I want to tell you my stance on Kathleen Kennedy right now.
Okay.
So I think Kathleen Kennedy is absolutely, from everything she's accomplished in her career, Hall of Fame producer. There's no argument about it. And even for people in this, I'm going to go the business side of it, and I'm going to talk the creative side of it. Mm-hmm. The business side of it is if you're a Disney person, you hire, and Kathleen Kennedy is placed as the head of Lucasfilm, your job as the executive in Disney is to say, how are you going to put money in our account? How are you going to put money? Are those movies going to make money? Every movie except Solo, which is not her fault, because it's Iger who wanted that movie out earlier, Now, you can argue that a lot of this stuff with the production cost them more money, so maybe there's a little bit more of her to blame on that side of it, but had it come out in December, would have made a lot more money. She makes these movies. I'm not talking about the reception, because I don't really like the new trilogy at all anymore. Even Force Awakens, which I like, is ruined by the things that follow. They all made $1 billion. And you can say, well,
so did Rogue One.
Right. And you can also say, well, each one made less than the last. It still made $1 billion. It still put it in their account. And especially when they're making movies like Strange World and Toys and Lightyear, which is losing $200 million, they need money that's going to go in the account, right? So Kathleen Kennedy, to me, has and now done the job when it was supposed to in a lot of her things. Now, she's made a lot of mistakes production-wise, and she's made a lot of mistakes creatively, in my opinion. She's not. Are you looking up? Oh no, you're not looking up anything. What are you doing?
Just playing with a string.
Perfect. Thanks for paying attention.
I am paying attention. That's what every time people are like, "Are you texting?" I'm like, "I'm playing with my pants." I'm
even
listening.
better. I'm glad that my point is so riveting that
No,
you wanted to play with your bag.
I have heard your Kathleen Kennedy point. You started this conversation with, "I want to
wanted
talk
to
to you
talk.
about something."
Oh,
I was
absolutely.
out of the conversation before it started.
Well, the reason
and I'm a cat playing with a string.
when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy, what I was going to say is this: I think that she just made. You can't, but you also, you can't deny with all the problems with the directors and certain things. That I think Roxy made a fantastic point a couple of weeks ago. She needs a PR person. She needs someone because she had this.
Or a better PR person.
Yeah, someone who's going to tell her. Look, there's certain things that you should maybe present, and there's like certain points that she made on that IGN interview after Celebration, where it was unbelievable. Some of the stuff that she was. The way that she would say it, the Kevin Feige movie, we're like, oh, it wasn't real. And then the Russos say, it was pretty real. We were going to direct it. And like, it's things like, just say, if she's honest more so and say, if there is, it didn't work out the way we wanted it to. We hoped that it would, but it didn't. People go, oh, okay. This movie is the one, though, the Indiana Jones. This is the movie, though, that people are going to go, well, look, it's Kathleen Kennedy. She produced another Indiana Jones movie.
And her husband, Frank Marshall, goes all the way back to Raiders.
If this movie doesn't work out.
Do you mean financially?
Yeah. Is this the beginning of the end for Kathleen Kennedy, or is she going to be there for a bit?
Look, I'm like you. I'm a Kathleen Kennedy fan. I think that
I'm not going to say that I'm a Kathleen Kennedy fan. I'm going to say that I appreciate. I'm going to say that I appreciate what she's done in her career. I just don't. She is not the right person for the job anymore, in my opinion.
Well, okay, but here's the thing. She was president of Lucasfilm before it was acquired by Disney.
Was she?
Yeah, Lucas.
I thought she appointed her right as it happened.
Well, maybe around the same time, but it was still a Lucas appointee.
That's right. That's right.
The problem with Star Wars and the problem with Lucasfilm is Disney. It's not Kathleen Kennedy.
Not creatively, it's not.
Well, but here's the thing. Kathleen Kennedy she's a producer that is used to working with visionary directors.
Right.
And she facilitates. A great producer takes what a director wants and makes it happen for them. I'm going to get you all the things you need to produce the film. Kathleen Kennedy is very, very good at that.
Right.
Her first producing credit was E.T. Spielberg himself said she's the best producer I ever worked with because she knows what everybody needs to make their movie.
Right.
I don't think being put in a position of being the president of a company was one of her strong suits.
That's right.
And here's the thing. She's not creative. She's not somebody who's weighing in.
She can get the production duties done.
Yeah, she gets the production.
Yeah.
And so what's happened is she's used to hiring people. If you look at the people, she's worked with Scorsese. She's worked with the best of the business.
Yeah.
She's produced movies for everybody. She's used to the people that she's working with being geniuses. That's what she's used to working with. She hasn't been working with geniuses. I think J.J. Abrams is not a genius if you look at his science fiction films.
What?
I wouldn't say he's genius, but he's very creative.
He's very creative, but he's made 5 science fiction films, all of which are not good.
I wouldn't go that. I like you and I are very different pages with the Star Trek.
No, I understand,
thing,
but
yes.
also look at a Star Wars movie.
But
yeah,
what is your?
It was a repeat.
What is your thoughts on what Kristian asked about if this movie financially does not perform?
Oh,
do
well,
you think that this is the beginning of the end for her?
I think she wants out anyway.
Do you?
So you think it's unrelated to this movie completely?
Before the Ray movie? Because I think because if I'm her, I would say and you've been in these positions before. Wouldn't you want to say, all right, well, I set up this new movie in 2025. That's the one that we know is going to happen. Who knows if the Mangold one or the Filoni one?
Well, I think here's what will happen. What happens to all these people? She'll leave her position and get a producing deal.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying that she has that credit but wouldn't she want to stick around to put another $1 billion in the bank if she's going to do it and then leave? But
So aren't you answering your own question in terms of even if this doesn't perform?
I don't necessarily know. I'm telling you, I think that's what she'd
She'd
want to
want, not what
do.
they
My
would do.
question is, does Iger, because now there's more and more people, because what I've seen is that when it first started out with Kathleen Kennedy, you could point the finger and go, but there's just people yelling and screaming about her because she's a woman in a position of power and they don't want her in there. And I'm not going to say that wasn't untrue for a lot of people. But then as it got, the more decisions that came out and the directors that kept leaving projects and the things that were announced, there were more people. Like you look at, I remember having a conversation with Steph Sabra. Like at one point she said, no, I think she's still, and now Steph's on the, I think it's time to go. Like if you're a sports fan, I've made this analogy. There are times when a certain manager works for a certain franchise and then they come in to bring their instruction to another one and it does not work. I just think she'll be, like you said, another production deal that she gets somewhere else. Probably will wind up doing a bunch of successful movies.
But I think that here's the thing. With Indiana Jones, getting James Mangold to direct was a great thing.
Oh, yes, it was.
He's an incredible director.
So you would call him genius?
I would call him, yes, because if you look at, he works in many different genres, whether it's 3:10 to Yuma, whether it's Logan, whether it's Copland,
Right.
whether it's Identity. He's worked in all these different kinds of genres of film. He's a very versatile storyteller. He's a writer-director. He is definitely, I would say he's visionary. He's a great hire. You know, he's somebody perfect to pick up the mantle of Spielberg. That and aside from COVID, I know they had a lot of production problems and Harrison Ford getting hurt and all that.
Right.
That was a tough one. I don't think that was either Mangold's or Kathleen Kennedy's fault, making a movie during a pandemic. So, look, I think this movie's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, me too.
I think that, remember, we who talk about this stuff all the time, we live in a bubble.
You're right.
The rest of the world does not care.
No.
They're going to go see an Indiana Jones movie. They're going to have a great time.
They don't even know it's screened at Cannes.
They have no idea.
Right.
And not only that, remember, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull still made, what, $750 million?
Yeah.
I think they're expecting this movie. It was very expensive. This movie was very expensive.
$200 million. Yeah.
So if this makes anywhere from, I don't know, $700 to $1 billion.
Do you think it'll get that? You think it'll do that well?
Yeah, because the world wants to be entertained.
I'm curious because, Roxy, at that time, The Flash will have been in its second or third week. And then Mission Impossible is probably 2 weeks after it. I think it makes half a bill. I think it makes 500, and which will be okay for them. You don't think you think it'll be more than that? Okay.
Yeah, I do think so because it's an Indiana Jones movie, and I do think based on what we've seen, even though people at Cannes weren't feeling enthusiastic about it, I do think that it's going to make more than that. People have been waiting so long for this.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing my friends from home even know is coming out this summer.
It's my number one. And I'll tell you the reason why, another reason I think that it has an opportunity to I'm not saying there's no way you guys are right. You very well could be and close to $1 billion because
I don't know about $1 billion, but I would say 750.
But you look at Top Gun Maverick. Who thought Top Gun Maverick was going to make $1.2 billion? There's not a lot of people that
This is
did.
the best movie ever.
It was, I'm telling you might have, but not a lot of
I did say that on John's show.
Then
Pull it up. I want receipts.
I believe you. but you're in the minority. I'm telling you, in the
You
minority.
said it's going to make over $1 billion.
I said it was going to make $1 billion.
I believe you.
You said before Top Gun, before reviews came out, before people anything, when they announced Top Gun
believe
Maverick,
him.
you said it's going to make over $1 billion.
Someone's going to pull this clip.
Yeah, pull it. Because then I'll believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I said that. Because John had seen 18 minutes at CinemaCon that I didn't go to.
Okay.
So a year in advance. Right. And then the first trailer that came out like a year in advance, I'm like, and here's the thing. I was saying that I think people underestimate how beloved Top Gun actually is.
Right.
And it's something many generations.
It was a great movie. It was
it was in the 80s. It was groundbreaking. Yeah. You know, everyone. It was what I'd call an MTV movie.
Yeah.
Made,
the first
he made The Hunger. He made Top Gun. He made Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Yeah.
Those were great MTV movies.
Well, but with Indiana Jones, though, I think that another reason it could do very well is because of like I said, The Flash. You got Guardians. You have the big movies, the comic book movies. The reason something like Avatar does so well, the reason why Top Gun does so well, it's an alternative to just going to see the big budget movies, but it's not in the comic book genre. So you get a chance to see Indiana Jones, big adventure, and brings in an older audience, also that maybe are just used to streaming stuff now and don't go to the theater as much now. But you know what? My dad wants to see it in the theater because he took me to see Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was like 5 years old or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else. The reviews that I've read, like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, had active stupidity.
Yes.
Really stupid stuff. I haven't seen anyone say that about this movie. They might not have liked something or it didn't deliver, but everything that I've read about what happens in this movie, I'm like, that's intriguing.
Yeah, they said it was kind of repeating some of the same beats.
Saying?
From what I saw, it was like repeating a lot of the same beats. Empty is what they're called. Instead, it's just not doing anything new. I think I'd rather see not anything new than monkey swinging in the trees with Shia LaBeouf.
Yes,
Yeah.
and somebody doing a Tarzan scream or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
And here's what I find really interesting: the idea, just the milieu that it takes place in. The fact that it's in 1969, it's the landing on the moon, and where Indiana Jones is in his life. And everything about it, all the different plot elements are interesting to me.
Yeah.
There's nothing about it where I go, well, that's stupid.
Right.
It's still got a 5-minute standing ovation, but
5 minute, though.
But that 5 minute
Harrison
is
Ford.
described as more muted and a formality.
Yeah, and I think they
How
were
could
doing.
you tell?
I think they were doing it because it's Indiana Jones' last hurrah, and they're giving Harrison Ford his due.
Plus, it's a big Hollywood tentpole, whereas
Right.
Cannes is very like
That's
you
what Roxy
said,
said,
it's
yeah.
very pretentious. I mean, they don't. It's about cinema,
Right.
The
Why is
movies.
Indiana Jones here unless it's like the next? This better be Top Gun Maverick. It better get close to being nominated for an Oscar.
They want Phantom Thread.
right.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, so it's curious.
Yes.
I mean, the only reason why I push back on even myself defending that at one point is that there were some critics that I looked at that I actually lined up on a lot of their other tastes with. So that made me, they just looked at. I went through a few of them and I said, okay, well, what did they think about this movie? And they're on the same page with me. What about this?
Yeah.
Same page. And I went, not that is, 100%, but it's something that could.
What you're trying to say is it wasn't Bibiani's take that.
It was not
convinced you.
Bibiani's thing. No. And nothing against
With
against
so
Bibiani.
much love.
Bibiani.
Yeah.
What I say about Bibiani is I think he's such a great critic. I just never am on the same page with that guy ever.
Yeah.
But I think also I want to like this movie,
Right.
and I think it's like the cave in Empire Strikes Back. What's in there? Only what you take with you.
Are there movies you don't want to like?
There are movies that I am predisposed to not liking for whatever
When you
reason.
see a trailer or something, and you just I don't know. I don't like this movie.
Yeah, and
What's
I try and not be
example?
that way. Well, example like a J.J. Abrams science fiction movie.
Gotcha.
I'll go in there and I'll be like, I'm not. I want it. Look, I think I want to like every movie. I really do. But there are some filmmakers that I'm not big fans of.
Right.
Like, I want Indiana Jones to be good. I want Kathleen Kennedy to succeed. I want James Mangold to succeed. I want Harrison Ford to go out on a high note. I like Phoebe Waller-Bridge because I like Fleabag.
Yeah.
It's a great show, and you should watch it.
I'll watch this eventually.
But it's I just want it to be good.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I know, like a James Bond movie, if a James Bond movie isn't going to be good, or if I'm in it and I'm watching, like I hated A View to a Kill when I first saw it. I was so excited to see it because it's a Bond movie. Hated it. But when I walked out, I'm like, it's still a James Bond movie.
Yeah,
I've only ever seen GoldenEye. It's the only Bond movie I ever saw.
What?
yeah.
And I didn't see it until
You
the
didn't see any
pandemic.
of the Daniel Craig ones?
I've seen nothing except for GoldenEye, and I didn't watch that until like 4 years ago.
I think you would love the Daniel Craig.
I feel like I would like this franchise because I love all
Spy
of
movies.
I love the Bourne franchise. I love the John Wick franchise.
yeah.
I love like that. I feel like it'd be so up my alley, but it's overwhelming. This is what I feel for people coming up right now with everything that Marvel has done. It's over fucking whelming where you start with something. When you are a new
Yeah.
fan to something that has so many movies, it's like people tell me start at the beginning. People are like, just skip to Daniel Craig. People tell me all different things. I'm like, I'm just gonna not watch any
that
of
goes
them.
back to what you were saying before, though, Rob. Is that that's the problem of what I guess the benefit and the problem that Marvel did, right? Marvel created this basically a big television show that started with Iron Man 1, but I love Kevin Feige, but when Kevin Feige goes, you don't need to watch WandaVision if you
Lies.
Yeah.
you have to watch a lot of the Marvel stuff. Or like when I took my daughter to see
In the holiday special.
Yeah, well, a bunch of different things, and I had to catch my daughter up because there's not a lot of these standalone Marvel movies you can see without catching up, and a lot of franchises are like that, as Roxy just said. But last thing I want to close with before we leave, this is a longer episode, and I'm glad that we have a longer episode. The Flash, we've mentioned, it's coming out. I mean, right around the block here. You and I have seen it.
We've seen it.
No spoilers. Don't worry, Rox. What I will say is this movie, I feel, because it's coming out, we got both Spider-Man, the Across the Spider-Verse comes out in like a week or so, week and a half. Then you have Transformers, which is tracking terribly.
Although I think it looks good.
I think it looks good. But
when is our Spider-Verse thing?
it's like next week. But then The Flash comes out after that, and then Indiana Jones. So to me,
okay, summer season, let's go.
But this is
Barbie,
and this is the first one that we've had since the pandemic, like this crammed into since like 2019. But because of I think that out of the four of them, I would have said differently before, and I stick by what I said with the 500 million. I think that I think Flash is going to be the winner out of those four movies as far as box office. I actually think Spider-Man will be number 2. Then I think Indiana Jones, and then Transformers. But let's start with The Flash. How do you think that movie does opening weekend? How do you think it does overall? And do you think, because of the bubble that we live in, do you think anybody gives a shit about the Ezra Miller situation outside of the bubble that we live in the movie news space?
First of all, I thought Flash was wildly entertaining.
Yeah.
It was wildly entertaining. I sat there the whole time with a huge smile on my face. And the thing about Ezra Miller...
As good as what other movie?
Okay, this is going to seem weird, especially in the movie. The tone of it has nothing to do with this movie at all, but the tone of it felt like Back to the Future.
Okay.
Where it had real stakes, but it was wildly entertaining. It was funny. Ezra Miller is great.
Emotional.
They are great.
Yeah, emotional.
Because there's they and they, because there's 2 Ezra Millers in the movie, but they're great in it. And they're great in it.
Right. Yeah. Emotional. It's very emotional too.
It's very emotional. It had a lot of surprises in it. Like at the very beginning of the movie, I will say this: there was somebody in the movie I had no idea was in the movie for a while, like a guest star in the movie.
Yeah.
That's not even on the IMDb.
Right.
And I was like, wow. And I was immediately locked in. And I had fun.
Yeah, it's good.
I had fun, man.
I think less people in the country give a shit about Ezra Miller's, for lack of better words, antics, and more people are aware of and care about the fact that DC is planning a reboot. So, or whatever they want to.
But I don't think the mainstream really knows that, Roxy.
I don't think many, but more people,
Sure.
I think.
Than the situation.
Yeah, I think that if the viewership is not as high as we're thinking, it's more because people know what's coming on DC than the fact that they're upset about what Ezra's done. Because I don't think people seemingly people don't give a flying fuck.
I also think it jumps back to the point of the nostalgia aspect with Indiana Jones. People are going to want to see Michael Keaton as Batman.
And also, this movie, in a way, it kind of is a great place to end and tee up this new DC universe.
Yeah.
People don't know that going into it, though.
Right.
But
They're curious about it. And
and it's got stellar reviews.
Yeah.
I'm with you that I think that this is going to outperform all of the other movies.
I do too, and because the word of mouth that's going to hit with it. And I'll tell you,
there is a world in which Spider-Man actually beats it, though. There is a world.
Because it's a shorter movie, too, Spider-Man, that is. When I saw Fast yesterday, they showed trailers, and they showed trailer to Flash. And as I was watching the trailer, I was like, I really, really like this movie. Like, as I watched it and I saw the images and things and knowing, kind of taking me back to it, I'm like, I really like this movie.
I'm not going to see this for a long time.
You're going to see it.
No, I'm not here for
You're not here during the screenings. Oh, man.
I'm so bummed about it.
Oh, man,
and then I'm going to have to pay for it, which, I have qualms about.
Well, I did it out of the theater for CinemaCon, but because of the stuff that they might have changed or might not, I'm going to take Brett with me, and I want to do another out of the theater reaction because I want to see if it's new or not.
It was. Yeah. I just thought the movie was really clever.
It was.
Oh,
it's really clever.
Well written.
I'm so jealous of you guys right now.
I'm telling you,
I'm the DC junkie.
I know it was worth flying to Vegas for that one day. I flew in for one
Thanks
day.
for the invite.
Yeah, I flew in for one day. Flew in the. Did I not see you at all? I thought I saw you.
We saw you.
Yeah. But I flew in just for that morning, and then I stayed overnight to at the same place you guys stayed, and then I took off early in the morning, and that was it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I flew in just for that movie.
This is a weird question, but did you guys like Flash better than you liked Bumblebee?
I think so. And I liked Bumblebee a lot.
Yeah, and I like Bumblebee a lot too.
But I think so. I think there's more. I think that the Bumblebee is easily the most emotional and connected out of all the live action Transformers for sure.
Yeah.
This movie's got The Flash has a lot of emotional stakes, and it was awesome to see Michael Keaton back as Batman.
And it also though has a lot of heart. I mean, I was surprised.
Yeah, it does.
And you know, when I said it's like Back to the Future, you have so much fun from the very beginning. It's never oppressive. It's just, even though there's a lot of stakes,
Yeah.
it was just fun to watch. I never knew where
It
it was
had a
going to
good
go.
balance. It had a good balance.
Yeah.
What
It
is
knew-
your guys' favorite DCEU movie?
DCEU.
Yeah.
Not DC, so that Nolan stuff doesn't count. I'm Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And
would
did
be
you
up there.
like this better?
I have to see it again, but I can see a world where if I watch it again and I feel the same way I did as I was watching that trailer again, going, man, I didn't realize how much I liked it until I saw the trailer. I mean, I said when I saw it that I liked it a lot.
It could be your favorite
It
DCEU
might be.
movie.
I have to see it again, though.
I think it is, and I love Man of Steel. The thing about Man of Steel is, I always say that as much as I love Man of Steel, there's no joy in it.
Right.
You know, when you're Superman
Right.
and you take flight,
Right.
there should be joy.
Or you murder your own father. I understand you guys don't think that's what happened, but that's absolutely what happened. I cannot stand that movie.
Yeah.
The Flash is a movie that is full of joy.
And it has a better balance than
And
Man of
yes.
Steel.
Do you think
It
it's better
does.
than Wonder Woman?
Yes, I think Wonder Woman's end falls apart. I like up until the end. Wonder Woman is a fantastic movie. The end of Wonder Woman just turns into kind of a generic superhero movie.
Yeah, but it has, Wonder Woman had joy in it.
It did.
You know?
Yeah, no. I thought Wonder Woman was spectacular. I really liked that movie a lot. It's just if you're asking
just
me
asking you to compare.
Yeah, asking. I mean, compared to the three. If I was going to rank right now, because I think Rob's point is fantastic. I think it has a much better balance than Man of Steel because of the humor aspect. I would put the Flash right there with Man of Steel right there, and then Wonder Woman. Kind
And
of
the
third.
Flash sticks the landing.
Wait, does the Suicide Squad
Yeah,
count?
that's DCU.
I don't know. I love the Suicide
I do
Squad.
too.
I don't know. I might because that has a balance.
Very good.
That's got a balance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There
The
have
Suicide
been-
Squad might be up there. I
People
love
forget that DCEU, which I know is not what it's called anymore, but that's what I'm referring to the Snyderverse on as. It has some good movies.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
For sure. All right.
It
listen.
also has some not good ones.
I know.
I'll tell you one
Yeah.
thing. The Flash would make a great double bill with the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I know.
That's
there's
a fun
so
time
much.
at the movies.
I'm so excited to see what comes next. But look, it was a pleasure to have you on the show.
This was fun, man.
Yeah, next time you have an opportunity and you want to drive 17 hours, you could probably watch Killers of the Flower Moon on the way and get here. It was great to see you, and hopefully you come back. But tell the good people where to find you and everything too.
Find me on my YouTube channel, The Burnett Work. You know, I do a number of shows. Robservations, which is pretty much my daily show. Or if you like physical media, Let's Get Physical Media every Sunday at 11.
There's a reason I sat you right there.
I was going to say, I'm very
I know.
impressed.
Yeah. And Roxy, where can I find you?
Everywhere at Roxy Striar.
All right, guys. Now, again, for me, I'm telling you, if you can be there, get there. New York,
I'm trying.
June 23rd. Get there, please. TheKristianHarloff.com. And how about this? This Thursday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., if you're a member on the website at TheKristianHarloff.com, we're doing a live after-party show. And what's the after-party? Well, everybody, unfortunately, except Roxy, will be there. It'll be me and Steph and Mike and Brett and Kate and Winston and Coy all in the same room talking about a bunch of different topics, and we'll be live on the website. If you're a member at the $10 tier and up, you can see it, or you can just get it a la carte. It's essentially the live event that we did at Flappers, but it's here. It's us hanging out, and you're going to have everybody in the room. Go to thekristianharloff.com. Join that tier today. Thank you for joining us. Please leave your comments. Click the like button. Do all that stuff. It helps the algorithm tremendously, get more people to know about it, and gives us a chance to get more guests like Robert Myer Burnett back into the studio. So thank you guys very much for joining us. Make sure on Wednesday we have Mike and Steph on the show. Thursday, Jodie Sweden. That's right. Full house. Jodie Sweden is going to be on the show. And then Friday, Winston and Coy are back. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side. It's the big thing. That was fun.